This is a new hat titled Boxing. Not bad, eh? All right, guys, welcome to yet another video. This one is going to be a follow-up to a video I did a little bit ago about me critiquing famous bad athlete bronze sculptures. The first video, I had a lot of fun making it, so I'm making another one, and it was about the recently unveiled Dwayne Wade Miami Heat sculpture. Now, if you've seen that one, it's pretty bad. And I kind of break down the reasons, do kind of a critique of what went wrong with the sculpture, what the sculptor could have done differently, maybe better, and kind of detail the process of it all and where it kind of all just fell apart, because that sculpture is not good. It's just, you've seen it, you know. So I don't really need to go into that. Go watch that video. Again, I had a good time making it, and I think you guys are gonna find it pretty fun too. Now, this one is the sculpture that is known the world over as being terrible. This is the litmus test of bad athlete bronze statues. You've seen it. It's been memed to death ever since it was unveiled. It's of one of the most famous people on the planet, so everyone knows what this guy looks like. He's been in the public eye for many years, and this statue has been in the public eye for many years as well because of it, for very different reasons. It is awful, and this is the Cristiano Ronaldo bronze head bust. Epic intro. All right, let's take a look at this thing, and oh God. Oh God. All right, let's zoom in here. Wow. I haven't really ever looked at it super up close like this, zoomed in, analyzing it. It is as cross-eyed as everyone made it out to be. I mean, this thing is awful. All right, so again, let's do a critique. And I don't want to just bash the sculptor. That's super easy to do. I really want to be constructive here and mention what.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He could have done better. I'm a sculptor. I've been a sculptor for many years, and I really want to delve deep, tell you guys, the audience, stuff that you probably don't know about sculpture and things that could have been done better. So first up, the eyes. Yes, it is as cross-eyed as everyone mentioned it was. Let me use the markup tool. This eye is obviously pointing that way. This eye is pointing directly at the viewer. Now, one thing that is an issue in this sculpture in totality is you can tell the process wasn't very additive. When you first make a bronze sculpture, you at first have to do it out of clay. So you make this whole thing out of clay proportionally, and then you cast it, and then boom, you get bronze, right? And when you do the clay, there's two different types of sculpture in general. There's additive and then there's subtractive. So for additive, it's you start with a blank slate and you layer small amounts of clay on top of each other, and then you get your final form. Subtractive sculpting is you get like a big block of marble, and you use a hammer and chisel, and you remove material from it to get the overall shape, right? So this was primarily done with additive sculpting, but not successfully. The key with good additive sculpting is you want to use very small amounts of clay for the whole thing, and then you get very good details, and you get a much more effective sense of proportion and dimension, and the whole thing just looks a lot more believable. For the eyes, you can tell that they were carved in with a tool more so than layers of clay added on each other. I'm gonna show something on the screen here. What I think of like me sculpting two different eyes, one that I think is the correct way, and then one that I think is the wrong way. And the first way, you see that is what I think this sculptor did in these eyes, is you have a big blank slate, and then you kind of have an outer layer of what the eye shape is. So it's kind of like a diamond oval shape, but that's built into the clay. And then you could take a tool and you carve up the eyelids and the shape of the eye and all that. That's what was done with this Ronaldo's eyes, I believe. That's what it looks like. The correct way to do it is first you need to remove clay. You need to make an eye socket. The one thing about God that was pretty amazing is he knew what he was doing when he designed people, right? We're very well designed. Some would argue we're very poorly designed. It depends on who raised you, honestly. But when you're trying to recreate biology in art, it's best to just follow the biology. So first you have to make the eye socket. So you remove a bunch of clay, you get that hole, and then you make the eyeball. It's easier for sculptures if you just do like an almond-shaped eye in the beginning. If you want to do the whole eyeball and go fully circular, you gotta make your eye socket a lot bigger, and that's just tedious at that point. So you can get away with doing like an almond shape, like I'm showing here. And then you are gonna take 2 extra flaps of clay, kind of mold them into like a top eyelid and a bottom eyelid shape, and then you add that on over your almond shaped eyeball. This way you get natural dimension formed between the eyeball and then the eyelids, and the eyelids look a lot more natural, and then you use the tools after to smooth everything out and add your texture. These eyes were primarily used for, were primarily made using tools where it should be the opposite. You need to first add the clay and do all the, you need to first add the clay and lay the foundation well, and then use the tool to add some details to it and make the whole thing a lot better. This technique really should have been applied for the hair as well. The hair honestly just looks very, very flat because all the hair strands are kind of the same thickness. The correct way to do hair in clay is to first have large separated chunks of hair, and then again with your tool go in and kind of divide it individually. Also for hair, what's very important is depth and volume. Now for drawing, you get that because you shade a spot a lot darker than the other spot, whereas with clay, it's about how deep you make the marks and how much distance there is gonna be between marks, if that makes sense. I'm gonna do a hair tutorial, like a sculpture hair tutorial later on the channel, so stick around for that. I'm also gonna be doing an eye tutorial, how to sculpt realistic eyes. I'm gonna go into more detail on that. So yeah, sub for those two videos are coming up. Now, another big problem with this sculpture is the face shape. A smiling face is very hard to do. Now, Ronaldo is a super recognizable athlete, super recognizable face. And for a sculptor whose ability, it seems, is not there yet to do an effective smiling face, the level is just clearly not there. If it was, the eyes would have looked right. Doing just a regular plain face is much, much easier. This sculpture oftentimes gets compared to this one, where again, it's a blank face, it's much more effective. You could see the eye was done the way I explained, and you can tell that because it has a lot more dimension and volume and contrast, and the hair was also made exactly how I described it. You have big pieces and then you have little pieces that make up that distance. It makes the hair look way more natural. You see the volume here, like over here, the hair is supposed to have a lot more volume, so the carve of it goes in much deeper into the clay / bronze, and they're much less frequent. That way it gives the sculpture a lot more contrast and dimension. And it's a blank face, it's just Ronaldo staring off. That's way easier to do than a smiling face. Now, I talked about additive sculpting, and you have to do it with little pieces of clay that you build up into larger pieces of clay, and then you smooth it all out with a tool. The Adam's apple is so well defined, and it's such like a jarring shape that you can tell this was one big piece of clay and then it was formed using like subtractive sculpting afterwards. Again, it could have been done a lot better. I mean, this thing is just, I could go on for many, many hours. I'm starting to get a headache. It's just not good. I mean, this thing is just not good. And fundamentals that oftentimes make the difference between a good piece of work and then a bad piece of work. I tried to do a bit of research as to who the sculptor was and what their process was. Now, granted, I didn't do too much, but I would have loved to know the process of it, their experience level, all that stuff. Doing sculpture busts is hard, especially for bronze. The finish of the bronze oftentimes makes things look a bit distorted because some spots are shinier than others. So I mentioned in my Dwayne Wade sculpture video that you can't really rely on measurements because it's gonna look a little bit different with the bronze finish. If you just rely on measurements, it's not gonna look exactly like the person. So you kind of have to exaggerate their recognizable features. And then when you apply the finish to the bronze, everything kind of just balances out and it ends up looking a lot more like the person you're trying to make it look like. So that could also have been done on this piece, but man, it's just terrible. I mean, look at it. It's just not good. It's trash. It is trash. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. I think I've done enough ranting. I think I gave a little bit of an explanation. Hopefully you have a better idea now of why it looks the way it does. and then also have an idea of how it could have been done better. Again, I'm gonna do tutorials on how to make realistic looking hair for sculptures, and then also how to make realistic looking eyes. I can do lips, hands, that could be its own series, so I'm gonna get into that as well. I also wanna talk about my cameras. I shoot a lot of film, and I wanna talk about photography on this channel, so stick around for that. I'll be doing a camera collection tour, kind of, and then showing sample photos from them. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified every single time I post a video, and as always, have a great day. Bye. I just saw a comment on Facebook, and it said that bad Ronaldo bust was done as like a joke for a TV show. That makes me feel so much better. Whew, man, I thought the art world had lost its mind. I thought it was the end. I mean, I was like, if that guy got that job for that athlete, then what am I doing with my life? I was feeling super insecure, super down. But if that was a joke, then I guess we got nothing to worry about.